I used to be afraid to charge for this, Randall. I did. And I don't know what that was about. I really don't know what that was about.
This is another episode of Practice Prosperity. We have today Dr. David Whiters. He is going to talk about his practice and his specialty. So we're going to go deep into things like addiction, different type of thoughts individuals have that may not be what we're exposed to in the general population. So thank you very much for joining us today, David.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Randall. It feels
Awesome.
good to be here.
So just to get us started, can you please, introduce yourself briefly, your practice and the type of services that you provide?
Sure. I'll do a short introduction. My name is Dr. David Whiters. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that simply means is that I'm a person that's been in recovery from substance use himself. That's how I started in this practice. I have a private practice. It's called Recovery Works LLC. You can find me on Psychology Today. I provide counseling mostly, primarily, but not exclusively to adult African American men struggling with substance use disorders. These are men struggling with alcoholism, drug addiction, and some of the other addictions, sex addiction, porn addiction, are my areas of expertise.
Where have you seen addiction increase in Black male populations? Is it the porn? Is it the substance abuse? What are you seeing trending in the clients that you serve?
That's funny that you asked that question. It's a combination of the two. It's not uncommon to see brothers who are addicted to alcohol or drug addiction also addicted to porn addiction because they both serve the brain in the same way. It's a sort of instant fix. What they get from sex addiction is the same thing they get from snorting cocaine or smoking crack or doing fentanyl and drinking alcohol. So the good feeling or the euphoria that they get from drug addiction is the same that they get from sex addiction. So you'll see, it's not uncommon to see a brother with multiple addictions, both sex addiction and drug addiction simultaneously.
Now, because you see probably the other side, the darker side, what is your opinion of the adult entertainment industry and its effect on society? Do you have, well, if there's going to be good, you have to take this bad, or do you feel like, are you leaning one way or the other?
Let me tell you what I don't do. I don't judge people who are in that industry. I mean, I'm the last person to judge somebody. I got history myself. Every saint has a past, every sinner's got a future. So, I mean, I'm far from perfect. I know people in the adult industry, mostly women, for them, it's a career. People sometimes think that they're sinners or they're bad people. They're taking care of their families. So, I mean, I don't participate in it anymore, thank God. I mean, there was a time where I was also addicted to um, that lifestyle, but no, not today, thank God. But I don't judge people who are part of that industry. What I do is I caution my clients, mostly men, mostly African American men. I get them to recognize there's a relationship between the two: sex addiction, porn addiction, being addicted to strip clubs, and being addicted to drugs. I'm gonna cut this short, but meditate on this for a moment. I have a client whose wife is tired. He's been spending all the money on alcohol and drugs. Then she finds out he's going to a strip club too. So now she thinks not only is he using drugs, but he's cheating on her as well. So he's got a double whammy. So that's what we have to be cautious of. That's what we have to be aware of, particularly with the brothers I work with. I get them to see not only are they destroying their own lives, but they're destroying the lives of their families. And sometimes that's what it takes to get them to make a change in their behaviors.
Yeah, I think that's something hit on. Like, it's hard to find balance with certain activities, especially if they're giving you that regular dopamine hit.
Absolutely.
And that gets you. So let's get into it. So let's start off with some definitions. I think, like I said, this is maybe new to a lot of people. It's a little new to me. Define what you think of as maladaptive thoughts. What is that to you in the work that you do?
Sure. That's when you have negative thoughts that just keep going on and on and on and on and on. And these negative thoughts oftentimes leads to negative behaviors. Um, I can go to the strip club with my boys and my wife won't find out. That's a maladaptive thought that leads to a maladaptive behavior. Or I can just, snort cocaine on the weekend. What's wrong with that? It's an extremely addictive drug. What might start on a Friday, what might start out as a regular weekend use, will oftentimes escalate into a daily use. That's maladaptive. To just think that you can do this on the weekend, it's maladaptive. It's going to ultimately evolve into a behavior that's negative on a regular regular basis. So maladaptive thoughts are negative thoughts that take place in your mind over and over again, and they ultimately become negative behaviors.
What is like the root of a maladaptive thought? Like, where does it come from? Is it innate in human to have these on a periodic basis? And it's just some people foster those thoughts longer than others? Like, what is that?
I don't know. According to my training, I'm trained as a social worker. I have a master's degree in social work from the #1 school of social work in America. I also have a PhD in social work from the University of Georgia. I can tell you what my training suggests, or what the research suggests, is that it's learned behavior. It's that we pick it up from the people that we associate with, the television shows that we watch, the music that we listen to. You know, for example, the young people today who walk with their pants down, who use language that's derogatory about their female friends, comes from their socialization, a lot of us believe. If you hear this stuff over and over and over again, you start to accept it as normal, as normalcy, as normal behavior. There's nothing wrong with it. Some of these young people have no idea how derogatory it is to use the N word. It's because that's, what you mean there's something wrong with it? Everybody uses it in every song I listen to. So a lot of us believe that it's socialization that is caused by our environment, our external environment. Um, I don't know. I don't want to sound overly religious, but I also think part of it is satanic. I do. That's because I'm a Christian and I believe that some of this is the work of the devil. But I don't want to go there because I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm one of those super religious person, because I'm far from it. But I believe in God and I believe in the devil too, and I believe that he's got a job, and I believe that's where part of this comes from. So if I can
So,
do that.
so if we think about things like socialization, it could be as innocent as a little white lie.
Mhm.
In my world, it could be somebody hiding purchases in the trunk of their car from their spouse. These little ideas kind of speak on how those little things end up manifesting themselves.
They evolve into, they evolve to, I mean, see, the problem with the little white lie, or just making just one little thing, doing one little thing wrong, is that when you get away with it, it gives you the impression that you can do it again. And the more often you get away with it, the faster it grows. And ultimately, I mean, I've never met a brother that I've worked with who gotten away with anything. I mean, maybe for a period of time, but ultimately it always catches up with them. And I tell them, I say, look, even if they haven't found out yet, it's just a matter of time. Oh, David, I'm extremely careful. She'll never know. I'm like, bruh, don't be surprised if she already knows. I mean, this woman has been with you for a long time. She knows everything about you. She knows when your mood changes, when your behavior changes. She knows when you're up to something that you're not supposed to be doing. So I try to be proactive in that regard. I try to help them avoid crashing and burning. And that's what my practice is about. It's like catching a brother before he hits the bottom, because some people believe that some men aren't going to get their lives together until they hit bottom. That means get a divorce, get fired from their job, have the house foreclosed on them. I don't believe that. I believe there's an intervention that I can do that can help them avoid crashing and burning.
So, what do you advise folks to do to protect themselves from these, let's call them micro maladaptive thoughts, before they manifest themselves into behaviors and just what you do day in and day out? Like, how can somebody protect themselves?
I think, when I think about brothers like you, for example, if I can use for example, I try to teach brothers to be like you, man. You're smart, you're committed to your family, committed to your spouse, committed to your community. So I have to teach brothers how to be committed to something, committed to your family, committed to your community, committed to your faith. Um, or the alternative is to be caught up in the streets, caught up in this um, negative world of ours, caught up in the behaviors that you may think are innocent now, but they ultimately become troubling, maladaptive, problematic. So I try to teach brothers how to be committed to your family, what that means. You know what it means to be in a committed relationship. Sure, there's a bunch of sisters out here, man. This is Atlanta, but it's nothing like being involved, being in love, and being committed and doing the right thing by your family, man. That's like, that's the hit there. The hit is urban vernacular for it. That's the bomb. That's what the ultimate goal is. It's learning how to be committed to your family, committed to your community, setting examples for the brothers young brothers in our community. I mean, wearing your pants right, turning your head around. I mean, even though turning your head around backwards is not really a bad thing, but just modeling good behaviors um, for people in your community is what I try to teach brothers to do. And some of them, it's like I had some brothers who start out really good, then they fall by the wayside, and then they bounce back. They say, "Yeah, David, I see exactly what you mean. I was headed down a rabbit hole, bro. Thanks for your intervention." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I do." So that's what I do. I try to teach them to be focused on the positive things in the world.
Talk a little bit about, hookup culture, infidelity. What I see a lot is they put that stuff on the TV screen all the time. They you hear those things in rap lyrics and pop culture, hooking up, cheating on your spouse, things of that nature. What do you think that has done to our culture? Being inundated with just infidelity, sex, sleeping around. Like, what is it that doing to our world?
Oh, I thought you was going to say culture again because I think it's affecting our culture differently than it's affected our world. But I'll just stick with the culture part. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that it's real easy for me, and I only speak for me, to focus on all the negative that takes place in our community.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the hookup culture is real. There's a lot of infidelity. But you know what else, Randall? There's a bunch of brothers who are faithful to their wives. And they don't get the attention that the other brothers get. We don't hear a whole lot about all the brothers that's doing good stuff in our community. It's real easy to hear about all the stuff that's going on that's not so good in our community. And I want to just give you a short example. I told you in the very beginning that I'm a person in long-term recovery. I remember when I was a kid, and I don't say this story to brag. I just need to make a point. I was using drugs every day as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think that everybody in my community used drugs.
Wow.
And then I started my recovery. And then I went home and I hooked up with some brothers and sisters that I grew up with, many of whom had never used drugs a day in their lives. And the reason why I thought everybody was using drugs is because the only people I hung out with was using drugs every day. So it was real easy for me to think that because that's what my reality was. But there's a bunch of brothers and sisters who are doing really well, who are faithful to their families, faithful to one another. We just need to find a way to highlight them. I think now at the same time, I'm charged with the responsibility of trying to help our community right itself, trying to teach brothers that it's not okay to have multiple sex partners. That's not okay to cheat on your spouse. That's not cool. Even though they say, Dave, what you mean? All my friends do it. If all your friends go jump off the cliff, you're going to do that as well. So yes, it's a challenge, but I thrive on the challenge. I like being able to help brothers learn how to redirect themselves. But to answer your question, what is it doing to our culture? It's causing some major problems in our communities. I think that the number of brothers and sisters who have multiple sex partners and don't believe in commitment is again the work of who. And but again, in order to maintain my sanity, I try to find some brothers who's doing the right thing, and I try to focus my time and energy with them as well. There's a lot of brothers like that in my church.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, "Yeah, David, they just look like they're doing the right thing in church," but I'm sure they got problems too. Well, if they do, they're not showing them. And Randall, one of the things that I look forward to is one day being able to sit in my church with a spouse the way the brothers and sisters sit in my church, in the way that they show that they love each other. I look forward to that. I don't have that right now in my life, but I don't believe that it's beyond my reach. So I know that was a long answer to your short question. I think it's having a negative impact on our culture, but look deep and hard. There's a lot of brothers and sisters doing the right thing in our culture as well. And let's find a way to highlight them.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So what if somebody sees themselves as, I feel like I'm on the verge of addiction, whether that's substance abuse, whether that's, the adult entertainment industry, or I'm having these thoughts, maybe even self-destructive thoughts. What is the process somebody should take, or you advise somebody should take to get help? Because people don't know. They say I have a problem, check, but where's the help coming from for that problem?
The good news is today, accessing help is easier than it's ever been because of the internet. You have to still be careful. A lot of the folks who are addicted to porn or whatever are very fluent in how to use the internet. Oftentimes they use it for what some of us think is the wrong reason. And I just want to make a quick comment before I continue. I don't know if the adult industry, I don't know if there's people, I don't know if everybody in the adult industry would agree with us that it's a bad thing. I think some people think it's a job. Not everybody believes that. I think some people think it's a career. I think some people think they're doing it to take care of their families. I believe that there are some people who feel that way. Um, but yeah, it's easy to access care nowadays. You can go to a Google search engine. I hate to be a promoter of Google. I'm not a big fan of theirs. They fired a lot of their employees who supported the Palestinians, and that just irked me the wrong way because I'm a supporter of that group. But so you find you a search engine. You can type in, "I have a sex addiction. I'm looking for help," and put in your zip code, and there's a list of therapists who will pop up. And then you can read their bios, and then you can interview them. You can vet them. You can go to my Psychology Today site. You can, and there's a descriptions of what my expertise is, and then there's a 15-minute free consultation. You can vet me. You can call me or chat with me and find out if I'm what you're looking for. If I'm not what you're looking for, because I consider myself a fairly decent therapist, actually a pretty good therapist, I'll help connect you with somebody who can help you. And there's free services nowadays too. Now, for me, I take insurances and I take private pay, but if you have neither, I can still help you. You know, so it's
Now,
easy to answer your question. It's easy to access care nowadays via the internet.
gotcha. So, what if somebody, you know, does not find themselves in the state of having an active addiction, but they want to, kind of uh, put a brick or a fortress around their emotional health? How does somebody improve their emotional health in this day and age?
Well, I also think that one of the best ways to do that is through therapy. And I think maybe what you're asking is how you do that, be it without accessing therapy. But one of the things I teach in therapy, and almost every therapist nowadays that I know teaches as well, we teach what was called mindfulness. So I teach people how to pray. I believe in the power of prayer, and prayer is relaxing. And there's support throughout the peer reviewed literature that people who pray have less stress than folks who don't pray. I can teach you how to meditate. If you don't like to pray, I can teach you how to meditate and pray. I can teach you how to go for a walk. A Randall, if I just get you to walk 5 minutes a day, every other day for 30 days, I can significantly reduce your level of anxiety for folks suffering from anxiety. 5 minutes a day, every other day for 30 days will reduce your levels of anxiety. Um, so I teach people how to meditate. I teach people how to journal. There's power in journal. Hey man, I got a brother who's like, I don't know how to describe him. He's a roughneck. I'm not for sure. He think everything I talk about is corny. I got him to journal. Hey, he's become this fluent writer. He loves it. Never had no experience prior to this with journaling whatsoever. He loves writing about his day and reading it back to himself, and he loves reading it to me. Um, so something as simple as that: journaling, meditating, praying, walking, exercising, dancing, line dancing. You don't have to have a partner dance. If I can get you to go to a line dance class, make a commitment to go 5 weeks in a row. Don't complain. Just go, breathe, go. You'd be surprised how many people learn to reduce their depressed mood, enhance their anxiety, depress their anxiety as a result of just doing something as simple as line dancing weekly.
Let's talk about dance because we both are big believers in dance, how it helps you, how it's an escape for you. Like maybe you can give some research or even just give from your own personal experience. What does dance do? And let's talk to our culture. Like how beneficial is dancing to our culture?
In addition to it being something that's going to help you physically, because it's going to get you moving,
Yeah.
what I've discovered, and I'm trained as a researcher, and this is nothing formal, it's just my informal research. The dance community, the socialization it takes, the social interactions that take place in a dance community are invaluable. I have talked to people in our dance community who have better relationships with other people in the dance community than they have with their family. For some people, the dance community is family.
Mhm.
Um, now, there are people who travel to dance events all across the country.
Mhm.
They enjoy that. They not only do enjoy dancing, but they enjoy the camaraderie. They enjoy hanging out with people. These are people who like, David, I ain't never really had a whole bunch of friends before. I've had some, but in the dance community, I have people that I like being around. And so the dance community not only helps us out physically, because it's going to improve your physical health if you're on the dance floor on a regular basis. It's going to get your heart rate up. You're going to burn some calories. You're going to stretch some muscles that you haven't used in a long time. But you know what else you'll do? You'll make some friends. You'll meet some people, some like-minded people who you can talk to about other things just other than dance. Or if all you want to talk about is dance, because they got people in the dance community who don't talk about nothing but dance. I traveled with them. I went to Huntsville the other day. All they talked about was stepping all the way down and all the way back. I was like, said to myself, I said, we got to have something else to talk about. But they were loving it. We were
Yeah.
loving it. I was enjoying it up to a point. I mean, I like to talk about other things just other than dancing. But so the dance community is a really, really good way to enhance your social interactions, to meet new people, to have fun. Look at all the smiles. You know, just next time you go out, do an informal research. Sit down and see how
Mhm.
many people you can count that got smiles on their face in one setting. Look at the number of smiles on the faces of the people in that setting. It's amazing. I think it's amazing. Dance is something that I suggest. I love suggesting to my clients about dancing. I have to be careful though, because it's not a good idea for me to have a whole bunch of my clients at the same
Yeah.
class that I'm at. So I try to send them other places. I try to send them line dancing because I don't line dance a whole lot. You're not going to see me at a line dance class, but you will see me in a stepping class. So I'm kind of careful about where I send them to. But I tell them, especially couples, I love sending my couples to a really good dance instructor here in Atlanta. I don't know if it's okay to call his name, but
Yeah.
it's TJ. TJ, I love sending my couples because he does an excellent job with teaching couples how to ballroom, how to step. He's just, I mean, he's amazing how well he works with couples and they love it. They say, David, I'm ballrooming. I'm learning to step. I mean, it's like, and this is a couple just a few weeks ago. They were hardly speaking to each other, maybe a little longer than a few weeks ago. So the dance community has been a major resource for me in my practice. I love it. I love being. I send people there as often as I send them to a psychiatrist. I do.
It it sounds like, you probably definitely do the talk therapy. That's definitely what you do.
That's what I
But
do.
but you encourage a lot of almost behavior change activities that go along with that. Kind of speak how that balances out in your practice, thinking of, yes, I want to talk them through so they acknowledge where they're at, but I also want to in, add these extra things to help boost what we're doing.
Yeah, talk therapy has value, but the research will tell you talk therapy by itself or talk therapy in combination with other resources has even more value. So that's fundamental as a therapist. I believe in talk therapy. It's been extremely effective over the years. I'm pretty good at it. Um, I'm an exceptional listener, but also know if I combine talk therapy with other resources, mindfulness, faith. I like that. Hey, guess what I do with almost every client that I assess? I ask them about their history of being involved in the faith. When I was a kid, I used to go to church. Then when I got an adult, I don't go that much. Well, have you been back to your church since? No, I ain't been back in years. What might that feel like if you showed up? How might the friends at church? They'd be happy to see me. Well, let's try that. Just see how it makes you feel. So I'm telling you, it's like because I believe there's power in faith, man. And I wouldn't care if you're a Christian, a Muslim, if you're Jewish. I don't work with a lot of Jewish people. It's not what type of faith. It's just that I know that in addition to talk therapy, it's gonna help you to get to where it is you want to go. Exercise. I did 65 minutes on the elliptical before I came here.
Yeah.
Um, I still, you can only see the top of me, but I still got on my workout gear. I suggest that you. I mean, if you I have clients that got memberships at LA Fitness that they've been paying for 2 years and they ain't been one time in the last 48 months. I'm like, bro, let's just go out. Now there, I'll meet you there. I don't mind that. I'll meet you at LA Fitness. If that's going to help you, I'll meet you there. I'll help you get on the treadmill for 10 minutes just to start. Now, I ain't going to actually do 65 minutes, but I want you to see how, in combination with what we do here weekly, this conversation that we have weekly, if you combine prayer, meditation, exercise, eating differently with talk therapy, you're probably going to have a higher outcome.
You've touched on this a little bit, but let's fully go there because it's a big part of how you practice, how you think about helping people. Let's talk about spirituality. Where does faith sit in a person's kind of existence, in your opinion? Like, what is it about faith, the belief in something bigger than themselves? Speak on that, and let's just dig a little bit deeper after that.
Well, I am a research-based clinician, so I know that 80% of the Black people in this country believe in God. 90% of that 80 believe in the God of the Bible. Look, I'm gonna use that, Randall, as much as I can, because it's part of our who we are as a culture, I think. Some of us just need, not some of us, a lot of us just need to be reconnected with our spirituality, and we need to be able to use that as a source of strength for overcome our maladaptive behaviors. I believe we do, and every opportunity I get to be able to use it, I use it. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes people are not interested in that. Sometimes people want to, especially if they misinterpret my suggestion about enhancing their spirituality with connecting with a religion. Because I got clients who go into the white man religion story, and I get it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about connecting with a higher being, connecting with a God, connecting with a creator, trusting in that creator, using that creator for strength, um, reading spiritual literature, listening to some music that's got some spiritual lyrics as opposed to mystical all the time. If all you listen to, I mean, I don't want to hate on mystical because I love his music. I can dance to his music. I don't particularly care for the lyrics, but you want to feed your mind with some positive, spiritual, uplifting music. I think sometimes listen to some Coltrane. This Coltrane is spiritual. I don't know what if you really know how to appreciate Coltrane. Miles can be like that as well. So, encouraging a connection with a higher being, if you want to call it God, tapping into the spiritual. My mentor says, David, I used to say the spiritual part of our being. My mentor says, David, everything about your being is spiritual. Ain't no spiritual part. You spiritual from head to toe, and all of us are. So just tapping into faith and tapping into spirituality and trusting in God and trusting in something bigger than yourself to help you overcome your behaviors is going to be important if you're going to expect to achieve any type of real recovery. I think anyway. That's been my experience.
So you go into a lot of churches and they say, well, Black men are not going to church. If you were going to sit down with a pastor, a leader of a congregation, and say, okay, advise them, how do we get more Black men into church, getting involved, actually practicing their faith? What would you tell them?
You know who Njabulo Kundufu is? He passed just recently. He's a Black, I think he was a psychologist. He wrote a book many years ago. I don't even know if it's still impressive. It's called Adam, Where Are You? And it's a book about why Black men don't go to church. And the number one reason why Black men don't go to church, he claims that he interviewed a bunch of Black men. It's because church happens at the same time as the football game. So he said you want to get brothers in the church, change church from Sunday to Tuesday.
Said about that.
So we got history. We have some young Black people in church, and then when they get to 18, 19, 20, they stop going. Many of them come back in their late 30s. There's a gap between the early 20s, late 30s. I like what we're doing in our church. And at first, I didn't know how I felt about it. We're making church more attractive to young Black men. You can wear your hat in my church. If I had came in my church as a kid with a hat on, I would have got smacked like 5 times. You can sing in the choir and have your hat on. And one day I had the courage to ask Pastor about that. Because I've always wanted to talk about that. What was his take on that? He said, David, times is changing. He said, you got young brothers with hats on who love Jesus. You know, he said, the times have changed. They, you know, parents didn't teach them that it wasn't cool to wear a hat in church, so they don't know that. They don't know it ain't cool.
Yeah.
They don't see anything wrong with it. So to answer your question, we got to make it more attractive to us, man. We got to do something different. My mom's church, my mom is deceased, but when I go home to Pontiac, Michigan, I like to go to her church, United Methodist. They down about 12 members, and the average age is like 80. Church has all been dead, but yeah, we have to do something different. Exactly what, I'm not for sure. But I do know that at my church, one of the things we've done to attract a significant number of African American men is to make it acceptable for the way they dress. How do you phrase that? You just acknowledge their culture. Is that a hip hop culture? Just, I mean, they don't have to come to church in a suit and tie. When I was a kid, I used to have to wear that same old sport jacket and that clip on tie every Sunday. I mean, I'm old school. I'm old too. So church back in the days, I don't even know if they still have clip-on ties. I don't know if they still make those. But nowadays, you don't have to come to church like that anymore. At our church, I do suspect that there are still churches where you have to dress like that. But so one of the things we can do is adapt to their culture because they can still love Jesus and had a hat on backward, I think. Anyway. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we just have to change the culture to make it more attractive to them.
I think what it does is it eliminates a barrier to entry. Some people don't have a suit jacket.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. And way some folks have been socialized and grow up, you're right. Their dress is part of their identity. And they don't want to separate it, and they feel attacked if they do. So I do think having a more relaxed dress does open things up.
Can I give you another short example of what I'm trying to say? And if so, is it okay if I use your dad as an example?
Sure, go ahead.
How could I saw your dad and your mom last Friday, at a monthly dance event. And your dad always dresses sharp. He always has on a suit. I don't know if he always has on a suit. Maybe I'm wrong. Every time I see him, he seems to have on a suit. And he was, I don't know if it's stepper sharp, because I think stepper sharp means green, pink, orange, or yellow or something like that. Sometimes that's how I visit stepper sharp. But he was definitely dressed. And I said to myself, I mean, I like that look. It's not my look. I mean, it doesn't fit who I am, but I like that look. And if I had to dress like that, I probably couldn't come to the set because, it was a suit. It wasn't no cheap suit. It was a nice suit. It had a nice tie. And he looked like a gentleman out dancing, having a good time with his wife. And I said to myself, I'm grateful that I can, because I had on a nice shirt, but I didn't have on no suit. And I'm grateful that I can come to the Stepper Sharp set like that, because if I had it, I don't even have a suit like that. That's the point I was making. I wouldn't be able to come because I don't have a suit like that. And you made a valid point. A lot of people don't have sports jackets. These kids don't know what a sports jacket is, some of them.
Correct. So. Yeah, I'm in the market, kind of upgrade my, I guess, more formal wear for speaking.
Really?
And it's a whole nother level of competency when you talk about suit jackets, sports coats. It's if you haven't been immersed in it, it takes time.
Absolutely. And not everybody even likes the way it looks. I know Shelly's grandson, I tried to put him in a suit jacket one time, and he was like, David, I don't like this. I was like, man, I don't like this. He basically just said, no, this ain't me. So yeah. I get it.
So let's go into your practice. So when I first met you, you work in corporate, working with the government. Mm-hmm. What made you switch in your head to say, I want to do something on my own?
I left the Centers for Disease Control when President Trump first term, and the whole CDC changed. It was always fairly conservative, but they started sticking their chest out and started letting us know that it was they, they was running stuff, and I just left. And people said, David, you left a government job, and I did. I'm glad I did too. And I have a private practice. I love it. I market it to mostly African American men. I love working with brothers. I'm so proud of me that I don't use language in public anymore, like knuckleheads. I used to call them knuckleheads just to kind of describe where they were, but I don't use that language as stigmatizing. On occasion, in a dialogue with them, I may jokingly use it, but I like being able to help brothers turn their lives around, save their marriages, save their careers, make major changes in their lives. And it can be a lucrative business too. I mean, I'm on all the insurance panels. I'm with a good company that does all my billing for not years, but for a long time. When I was doing it myself, I'd have $2,000 and $3,000 worth of invoices out, and the insurance company would send me a check for $400 with a whole list of updates and changes that I needed to make. I don't have that anymore with the billing company. They charge me 3% of what they bill for. It's worth it. So I don't have that issue. In the summer times it gets slow, but I think that works out for me because in the summertime I'm on planes. I like to go. That's part of what I've been able to do as a result of having my own private practice, is that I get a chance to jump on planes and go places. So I highly, I mean, I used to feel, I guess, I don't know if guilty is the right word. I used to feel some kind of way because I waited so late to start my private practice. I used to say all the time, well, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it. And I never had the wherewithal to do it. I always worked for somebody else. I always was making money working for somebody else and was really too afraid to step out on faith and do this on my own. When I stepped out on faith, January 2019, got incorporated as an LLC. For some reason, the fear had me thinking that was going to be a long, timely process. It took like less than 30 days. And set up a bank account with an EIN number. I was like, man, this stuff is a lot easier than I thought. I really was kicking myself in the butt that I was like, man, I wish I had known how easy this was. I would have done this 5 years ago. But it's a good practice. I help a lot of people. Marketing can get tough sometimes in the summertime. Um, Something about the summertime, brothers don't think they got issues. It's not till winter comes around that they realize that they need to make some changes in their lives. I have a couple couples that I counsel. I get a lot of referrals through the faith community because I market my services through Christian. I don't really promote myself as a Christian counselor, even though I wish I could. I just don't know enough about the Bible to feel comfortable with that. I'm not one of those kind of Christians who like knows the Bible really well. But yeah, I like what I do. I'm good at what I do. I help a lot of people, and I generate enough money to care for myself. So,
so when somebody goes out on their own, the benefit, especially if you're licensed, is you get to define how you offer your services to your clients. What was your process of really defining how I'm going to approach therapy, how I'm going to approach servicing the people who come to me?
I'm not for sure if this is the answer you're looking for, but I do want to highlight this. I don't know if I got lucky or the timing was just right, but 2019 was right around when COVID was about to hit.
Yeah.
Well, so I did everything virtually. I never really wanted to rent me an office downtown Decatur because I was going to do that. I had already looked at it and see people in person. I don't know. I just always wanted to sit in front of this and do my services. And so I've never had to do the office part. Now I have colleagues who have offices. I even have colleagues who've offered me space in their offices, but I like the comfort of my home. I like sitting here sometimes with a button-down collar shirt on and my pajama bottom on. I do. It's just something about that just feels good, and I can do that all day, Randall. I can do a start on Tuesday at 11 o'clock and go to 6:30 and never leave the comfort of my home. So I offer virtual sessions. I like that. I like I offer sessions that are a little Afrocentric too. I talk about the value of being African American and our responsibilities to our community and what that means and how you can't be in your community practicing these behaviors because there's folks who are looking at you. You have a responsibility. If you don't like what's going on in your community, then you need to be a part of making some changes. And I talk about how important it is as African Americans to contribute to our community. I talk about faith. I talk about the role that faith has played in our community, how it's been able to keep us together as a people over the 400 or 500 years that we've been in this country. So I like to promote spirituality. I like to promote healthy eating. Uh, I get to talk about that. Sometimes you got to be careful because I got a bunch of brothers and sisters who eat pork chops and fried chicken all day long. And so, I don't want to give them an impression that I just caution us. I give them some recipes or some places to go to find some way to eat some things that are a little different than what they've been eating. I think that's part of my responsibility. I mean,
So when you think about pricing, you had mentioned that you're on insurance panels. You also mentioned about private pay. Explain your journey on pricing and what is that like for a therapist?
all right. It differs from therapist to therapist. I've always been afraid to charge what I'm worth just because I'm afraid that people might think it's too much. So I always undercharge. I got a friend like that. I almost called her name. She has a natural hair salon. You know her well.
Hmm.
Her prices is half as much as everybody else in town. And she's afraid to charge what the real market to bear. Because I don't want to chase my clients away. You know that. So I'm the same way. And I got a lot of nerves talking about her. I charge. I have a friend. I had a friend in town from Oakland, California. She's a young sister. She's a licensed professional counselor. All she's ever done is private practice from her house, from her apartment in Oakland, California. When she told me how much her private pay was, twice as much as what I charged. I was almost embarrassed to tell her how much I charged. I think I may have lied and told her I charged more than what I really do because I was afraid to tell her. But 90% of my clients are insurance, so I don't really worry about it. Sometimes I don't charge them the copay. I have them put in their credit card. I got a couple now charge their credit card. Sometimes people change their debit cards for whatever reason and it don't go through. I got a notice from the people who do my billing. You need to let these people know they need to update a new debit card, credit card. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Again, 90% of my stuff comes from insurance. Aetna, Blue Cross, Cigna pays me $112 for a session for a 53-minute session. I do 6 or 7 of those a day, 4 or 5 times a day. I'm happy. And that's probably poor. I probably don't qualify as a really good business person, and because I'm not the best at being a capitalist. I probably could do more. I probably could make more money. I probably could work fewer hours and make more money. I probably could. And maybe one day I will. The older I get, I don't want to do this forever. I would like to cut this down to only seeing clients on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, and being off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's an ultimate goal of mine. It really is where I'm trying to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for me to be able to do that successfully, I'm going to have to increase what I charge. I'm going to have to start collecting copays and looking for more private practices. But I don't know. Private practice, I got on. If you go to Psychology Today, it says a 53-minute session is $75, which is cheap. My friend charges 150. So it is what it is. Yeah, but I like doing what I do. I also like getting paid for doing what I do. I used to be afraid to charge for this, Randall. I did. And I don't know what that was about. I really don't know what that was about. Maybe it's the social worker in me. When I left the University of Michigan, I signed this pledge that money would never be an issue. So if you came to me and you had an issue and I could provide you the care and you didn't have the ability to pay, I was supposed to provide you that service anyway. Even though my student loans was the same as the brother who graduated from the engineering school, who was making, or the business school from Michigan, who was making 3 times what I was making. We had the same amount of student loans, but I can guarantee you nowhere did he ever sign a pledge that said he's going to do anything for free. But that's part of what I was charged with when I accepted my MSW degree from Michigan. Yes,
I like that. So let's talk about that transition. So you're going from the quote unquote stable, it's no longer stable, as you know, federal government job, and now you're going to private practice. How did you think about your personal finances as far as like, how can I take this potential reduction of salary? Were you thinking there's going to be an increase in salary? Like, how are you going to manage your household? Like, what was your internal preparation for that shift in income from a paycheck to money hitting your business account?
Yeah, Randall, I think I don't want to try to guess what it is where you're trying to go with this, but it was, what's the word? It was abnormal. It wasn't, I didn't make I didn't sit down with a business planner and plan this. That's not how I operated. When it comes to business, I feel miserably. So my response may be, I pray that's not counterproductive. I trust in a higher power. I trust in God, and this was a decision that he and I made together. It's like, this ain't for me, and so because I trusted him, you know, he would say, David, you used to always complain about your tithes. But right now, you won't have to complain as much because your tithes will be a lot less than what he said. You've been playing. I got you've been complaining about your tithes. Okay, I wasn't complaining. That's just a joke. I mean, I ain't afraid to tithe. I ain't afraid to tithe. So look, my mortgage is affordable. I had a car that I haven't driven since 2008. My friends would ask me, why you ain't got a new car? The same car. It didn't make no sense to have a new car. It got me everywhere I wanted to go. I had passed the point in my life where I was materialistic about a car. I used to be a time in my life where I had to have the most expensive, fanciest car than anybody else in the community. Thank God that I had matriculated past that point in my life. So that wasn't an issue. And then there was an upside. I knew that I might be able to travel more often, which was something that I wanted to do. Would I be able to afford it was the question. So yeah, and another thing I haven't told you is that in addition to have a private practice, I do have a part-time job where I serve as a assessor for a drug and alcohol treatment program where I do assessments. I do a bunch of those. I get 125 hours assessment. I try to do 20 of them a month. Try to. I don't always get that many. Um, and then I'm also a little up there in age, so I get Social Security, 67. I've been getting that for about past couple of years now. I hadn't gotten that. I was out of I had left the CDC for 7 or 8 years before I started getting that, so I didn't get that when I left. And nor was I saying, well, in 7 years, David, you'll be getting Social Security. I didn't think like that. I just said, look, I don't want to be here. I knew I didn't want to be here. I knew I didn't like the atmosphere. I knew people was going to think I was crazy. I knew my family was going to, some of my family members, not all of them, were going to have questions. I knew some of my friends would have questions. But I had already had a conversation with God, so it didn't matter. I mean, at least I thought it did. And then I didn't tell anybody that because I didn't want folks to think that I was one of those kind of people like, oh, so you and God just sit down and y'all have like a one-on-one conversation? I didn't want to sound like I was delusional or paranoid or hallucinating, hearing voices that I thought there was God. But I knew I wanted to go. I knew I wasn't going to be able to survive that environment because I don't do well around a bunch of people who flaunt their isms. And that's what they were doing when he got elected. At least I thought they were. Maybe I was being overly paranoid because there's a lot of black people who stayed. But just one other thing. I have at least two friends, both of whom one had over 30 and one had almost 30 years at the CDC, who got fired just for the last couple months after being there for one over 30 and one almost 30. How do you get fired from a job where you've been for over 30 years? So I don't know what that has to do with anything except that I'm trying to say, maybe justify that, yeah, I did the right thing by leaving. I think I did.
I think if business owners were honest with themselves, they probably make, I know I did, make the decision just like you do. They make the decision and they justify the decision with analysis.
Right.
That if we're honest with ourselves, we feel the need to move. We concluded that we're going to move, and then we
Sure.
do. This is how we operate. I think that's good. Now you say you talk to couples. What are you seeing a lot of couples struggle with in your practice? Like, what are they dealing with? I don't know if you noticed, I do a lot of kind of like counseling around helping couples with money. But what do you see as the main kind of, separator between you specialize in black men and black women?
The number one issue is lack of communication. Um, After a while, people stop talking to each other. That's one of the biggest mistakes I think you can make. You got to be able to communicate your feelings. They stuff feelings. They don't talk about how they feel. Their partners have to guess what's going on in their heads. They don't know how to communicate. Um, Lack of communication. Again, because my area of teach is also substance use, so that's also a major way to destroy a family or to cause major problems between couples is to have one or both of them to start misusing substances, including alcohol. I got a brother right now, his stepson, 16 years old, thinks the world of him. His stepson said to his mom, so and so drinks too much. He drinks 8 beers. All he drinks is beer every day after he comes home from work. His 16-year-old stepson is unpacking him. I mean, this is a guy that he loves, has great respect for, loves the way he treats his mom, but he can't stand to see him sit there and drink every day. The guy thought he didn't think what he was doing was causing any harm. So lack of communication, substance use is another one. Um, you know, you probably some people might. What about money, David? I mean, I, I guess money is part of is I guess one of the major causes of breakups in couples. I'm not for sure exactly what that means, though. I mean, does one of the partners lose a job and money becomes an issue, or does one of the partners misuse money? I've seen that, but Randall, I'm telling you, we have to find a way to motivate people or to encourage people to communicate openly and honestly with people every day. All my clients, every single day, 15 minutes each. You sit down, I talk to you for 15 minutes. I'll tell you my day, uninterrupted. You can take notes if you want. Then you share with me 15 minutes of your day, and we talk through our day. We're not going to be able without spending at least 15 minutes telling you what happened today. It's called improving communication and learning how to talk about feelings. I got a brother, I think he loves his wife, but he ain't never told her that. And I tried to get him to tell him that in a session. He's like, it's almost like somebody stapled his lips together. I'm like, bro, do you love her? Yeah. I said, well, how she know? She know. I said, well, how does she know? Do you tell her? I said, women like to hear that often. Brothers probably like to hear that too. But so lack of communication is what I'm not a financial counselor, so I don't. Again, I told you earlier in this session, when that becomes an issue, I try to refer them. I try to link them to resources. I like to add you to potential resource if that's something that you can do. If you can provide some financial literacy or some financial counseling. But yeah, that's not a strength of mine. I'm the wrong person to talk about how to manage your money.
Oh man. So any advice somebody who has a similar background to you as far as they mastered in social work, they have an independent practice, any advice to somebody, let's say it's their first day, and they're hitting the ground trying to get the word out, putting up profiles everywhere, like what advice would you give them?
Um, to be patient, persistent, uh, trust in some kind of higher being, communicate often and regularly with mentors in the field. I'm a clinical supervisor. You can schedule an arrangement with me. And above all, be patient. You know why? Because there's way more clients out there than there are therapists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all you have to do is figure out how to get your name in front of them. And you'll have plenty of business. Maybe in the summertime it slows down. We all know that. But there's plenty of work. If you and I would suggest if you're pursuing a graduate degree, and you're trying to figure out which one to pursue because you want to be a therapist, I'm going to recommend MSW over any of the others because the base is broader. If you're a licensed psychologist, if you got a master's degree in psychology, your focus primarily is going to be on mental health. If you got a master's degree in social work, I can count somebody who has a substance abuse history, mental health history, marital problems, you name it. The field, the focus is just wider for a social worker than it is for any of the other graduate degrees.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So if somebody's listening to this and they say, hey, I like what Dave is saying, I'm either dealing with some of these issues or I just need to connect with him because he may know some other resources I can have. What is the best way for them to reach out to you?
You can type my name in Psychology Today, David Whiters. There's only one David Whiters on Psychology Today, and I know that because I've Googled, I've tried it before. WHITERS. You put my name in Psychology Today. You go to a search engine, type in Psychology Today, a page will pop up. You type my name, David Whiters. You see my profile, my picture, my name, my video, my phone number, my email. That's how you find me. If you just want to find out more about what I do, feel free to reach out. You don't even have to be in search of a therapist. You just want to find out how to get into this field. Want to learn about dancing, anything. Because it's on my profile that I'm an avid dancer and I believe in promoting dance as a way of helping people overcome some of their anxiety, some of their depression. I believe that dancing, I've done some informal research studies. Dancing helps people smile, makes people smile. Count the number of smiles you see next time you go out. Say, that's what Dave was talking about. It's a bunch of smiling people at those dancing sets, man.
No, I'm definitely going to sit back and count. I'm out. All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. David Whiters. The information you gave was real. I think it's honest. And I think it's good for, let's say, somebody who's in a latter stage of their career to know that there are other options. I can start my own business. It's not that hard. I can service the clients that I want to, and I can sit back and let corporations do what they're going to do while I can still have my level of peace. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Randall, for having me, man. I enjoyed this, and God bless you, brother, and good luck to you in all your endeavors.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Feeling the pressure? You're not alone. I'm Randall Lavery with Diesel Wealth Management, and I specialize in simplifying wealth for those who are near retirement and business owners. We'll create a plan that fits your unique needs so you can actually enjoy the wealth that you built. We consider our firm results-driven with a touch of fun. Ready for clarity? Click the Learn More and schedule your free discovery call. Let's build the financial future together.
Teach me something, Uncle Money.